Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for a Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. You guys know who I am. I'm Dr. Angela Butchester, and you know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And that's what we want to do today. We want to get you fired up about our topic and our guest. Today, we will be talking about when God leads quietly, trusting the whisper, not the noise. And our guest, Mark K. Olsen. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do? Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Mark. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
It's always a pleasure to see you, Dr. Angela, and even to talk with you.
Absolutely. I love our conversations, and our listeners enjoy our time together as well. So thank you for being a guest with us. Now, our topic today, when God leads quietly, trusting the whisper and not the noise. Sometimes God doesn't shout. He whispers, just like a really good parent would do, right? We don't always need the loud and booming. Sometimes we need the stillness and the calm voice instead. And especially in a world filled with noise, that can be hard to follow sometimes. But what if the quiet moments are more powerful moments than the loud ones are? And today we are going to talk about what it means to be in that space where God leads us quietly. And you are such an awesome guest for this topic. So I cannot wait to explore how we can recognize his whisper, how to move forward in that, and to make sure that we are clear on the path of how we can anchor ourselves in our faith in God. So I love it. Now, before we get started, I just realized I don't want to be a bad host here, that there may be some new listeners that we have on with us today, and they're unfamiliar with who you are, Mark. So first question to you is, tell us just a little bit about who you are, what makes you you.
Well, I grew up in Minnesota in a Christian home. I went to high school and college. I was drafted and sent to Vietnam. And then when I got back, I started a real pursuit of Christ. I have found out that when the good things are happening with me, it's Christ coming through me. And when the bad things are happening, it's me getting in the way.
Absolutely. I think that's true for most of us as well. I love that answer. I love it. So, my first question for you is, when God leads quietly, the first part of our talk today, what does that mean to you? What does that sound like? What does that look like to you?
Well, when I saw this question, I immediately loved it because it's just a topic I love to talk about. Sometimes you have to be still to hear God's voice. In the Psalms, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." In Mark, Jesus says, "Peace, be still." In Psalms, that beloved 23rd Psalm, "He leadeth me beside the still waters." And to be still, we have to slow down our mind because our mind is the thing that's churning and getting in the way of picking up God's guidance. That's why I love contemplation, where you can kind of reflect on something and there's little pauses in there. And that's when God's guidance comes through. Now, let's say you've done that and you've contemplated it and there's still nothing coming through. Then you might have to go by your wisdom pool because sometimes God wants us to figure out ourselves what to do so that we grow. If we were always just told what to do, we wouldn't grow. So sometimes he leaves us in kind of limbo, and we have to decide based on our study of the word and what we've learned is the right thing to do to the best of our knowledge and do that. And we will know after that if it was right or not. God will show us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. Well, let's look at the other part of that, the whisper, right?
See?
Sometimes, when we were little kids, we were taught that you don't whisper in mixed company because it was rude. However, I think as adults, we find that many times God does whisper to us. How is that a powerful way of God communicating to us as opposed to speaking more loudly or more directly?
I believe in signs. A friend of mine was asking God, what could she do? And a little sparrow landed on a branch right by her and started singing. That's God telling her what she could do. I've had the horn honk right after a specific thought, and somehow I knew God was telling me, yes, Mark, do that. Or a lightning strike once, right after a thought about God. And Spirit and God talk to us in those little ways with signs, dreams, uh, little things that happen. And it's kind of funny. We'd rather he just said it in our mind, but I don't think it happens that way very often. And if we can be still, sometimes it'll come up from our soul into our mind. And we have this feeling that God has laid something on our heart or something we haven't even thought of. And suddenly, oh my Lord, that's what I should do. One time I was looking to get out of giving an apology, and the Lord led me to give one to the offending party. And so sometimes the guidance is hard to take, but once you know your guidance, the decision is over. You have to do it. There's no decision to be made once you know what God has left you to do.
You are so right there, and I love your bringing in the animals. I've heard so many times from my client base that, especially when they were having those very troubling times, not necessarily negative, but just they were worried. They were really going over something in their spirit, trying to make a decision. Or sometimes it was grieving and trying to get to the forward movement in the grief process of moving past the shock and the hurt and the denial of the person being no longer with us, and trying to move on to the stage of acceptance. And I find that many times people make that very same correlation that, I went for a walk, I went to the park, I went to the beach, and there was always some animal that did something that was not necessarily out of the ordinary, but seemed directly correlated to what they were thinking, or that animal was in that person's personal space just enough for anyone, even walkers by or passers by, to say, hey, I think that squirrel's talking to you, man. I think that bird is singing for you, lady. Like even a stranger would be able to pick up on that. And you're right. I think I'm like that too. I look to how God talks to us in not the loud and booming ways, but in the very gentle ways as well. I'm one of those people. You don't have to yell at me to get it. You can you can just tell it to be plain, and it's like, gotcha, not a problem. Now, speaking of those times that we have with God, has there ever been a quiet time in your life where you know that was definitely a God moment in that quiet?
That's interesting you should say that because when these things happen, like an animal coming up to you or a bird or something, you know, somehow you know that that's from God. The timing is perfect. And it's just amazing. With it comes that feeling that this is right. This is God talking to you. I don't know how or why, but it comes up from soul and spirit. And oh, God, thank you.
You are so right, and I've had it happen in my personal life as well, especially when I am thinking about a loved one that has passed on, and I miss them. Something awful. It's usually within like that first year of them passing, and you know how your heart still kind of it hurts a little, or you think of picking up the phone and calling and sharing your good news with them, and then you remember that you can't do it like that anymore. And so many times God has sent me just the cutest little butterfly, that for me, again, I'm not trying to make it more than what it is, but just for me and how I understand God, He'll send this cute little butterfly by, and it just makes me smile, and it just tickles my soul. And I'm like, thank you for that, God. Like the reminder of they're fine. It's okay.
That's
Right?
right.
Like
That's
don't you
exactly
worry
right.
about that. Yes.
That's right. And when these things happen that are challenging, we can look at them any way we want. And even with loved ones passing, I've lost almost everyone. You have to, if you can, have God help you to look at it with joy and to send them good vibes and thanks for all the joy they brought you, and to look for those good positive viewpoints of it, because you can look at it any way you want. And who wants to look at it in a sour or negative way? uh, we want to be in joy even during the challenging times, and see that way where it's not a Pollyanna or making it up. It's true. That person that went on is happy and leading a great life, and they want us to keep being happy. So I think we can choose. Some of these events we can't get in the way of, they happen. We can look at it the best way we can and ask Christ for help in doing that.
Agreed, agreed. And thank you for adding that line. It is not Pollyanna, it is true. And yes, I'm sure someone listening, watching right now can raise their hand and say, yep, it has happened to me as well. I love it. I love it. Well, it is time for us to take a very short break, but don't you worry, we are going to come back and continue this conversation of when God leads quietly, trusting the whisper and not the noise. We'll be back right after this.
There's something I need to tell you. This relationship isn't working. It isn't good for me. I'm breaking up with you.
It's not me, it's you. I became dependent on you. And you were always there for me, even when I was at my worst. But I didn't realize the damage you were doing. You created a toxic environment. Not just for me, but others too. You were suffocating me.
We're just no longer compatible. Also, there's one more thing. I met someone else.
I'm respected in public. I'm making friends. I feel like I can breathe again.
That's how I deserve to be treated.
我们之间结束了。
तुम फिर से कभी नहीं मुझे दुख दोगे।
'And it's a healthy relationship.
Thank you so much for joining me for a Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. My guest today is Mark K. Olsen, and we are talking about when God leads quietly, trusting the whisper, not the noise. Mark, my next question for you is one that I know that I get asked this question a lot, especially when we're doing webinars or we're doing some type of speaking engagement. And that is, how do you know the difference between your own voice for people who have that internal dialogue? How do you know the difference between your voice and God's voice? How do you know you're not just talking to yourself?
Well, it's a great question because we all wonder that. The answer for me is devotions, 3 times or more a day. And practice makes perfect. And if you practice listening for the Lord's voice, you're going to get better and better at recognizing it. Christ points this out in the Word. We know that when Elijah was being talked to by God, it was a still small voice. And if you practice and you're doing your devotions faithfully, you will get better at picking up that voice. Excuse me. This voice doesn't come from your mind, it comes from deep within you, your intuition. It has a different feeling. And if you practice listening for it, you can hear it.
That is so true. I love that you're reminding people to spend that time, that devotional time with God. And it is so helpful because scripture reminds us, my sheep will know my voice, my people will know my voice. And the same way that we as human beings know the voice of our parents, our grandparents, our caretakers, when we hear our name called in a crowd, we know whether or not that is someone that we know because we know that voice. And you are so right. The more we spend time with God, the more we become familiar with how He is with us, and we will know the difference between His voice, our voice, and then those thoughts that we should not pay attention to that are trying to steer us in the wrong direction. So you are definitely right there. Now, for so many people, when it comes to their spiritual habits or their spiritual practices, they feel that it's supposed to be easy, that it shouldn't be hard. And you've suggested that someone does devotional 3 times a day. I can already hear, Mark, someone saying, I don't have time for 3 times a day. What is the suggestion for the person that really doesn't have a lot of time for whatever reason? They don't have a lot of time, but they still want to spend time with God. What can they do?
Well, when you wake up, before you get up, after you get up, before breakfast, at noon, after work, after lunch, after supper, you take those little times, and some of them aren't very long, maybe 5 minutes before you get out of bed. But that time can be precious. And if you keep in contact like that, you are better able to hear God's voice. We're in the eye of a hurricane. And as long as we stay close to Christ, we're in the eye. If we get away from Christ, suddenly we're in the periphery where everything is going crazy. We need to do our devotions, even if they're short little ones, and make sure that it's just not our mind making us too busy to do them.
Now, for someone who wants to move forward in their faith, be it that they are a new believer or they've grown up in the church like I have, and they feel that they might be, I don't know, maybe slow walking, things might be a little stagnant for them. How do they keep that flame going? How do they stay inspired to continue to move forward on that path?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think in doing your devotions faithfully, Christ becomes more real. It was like your experience that you shared. Christ becomes more real. Now, when he does, and you start having experiences with Christ, oh, it is so inspirational. Now, I will admit, before that time comes, you're going to have to kind of toe the line with your devotions and try to use your self discipline to stay on track. But if you do, after a little while, Christ will start speaking to you by signs and other ways. And it becomes so exciting, you wouldn't miss your devotions for anything.
You are so right, Mark. I have shared my story of the show of Daily Spark with Dr. Angela, and the just a little bit of the behind the scenes of naming the show. And originally, when I started, I was a weekly show. And when I was asked, what would you like to call your show, Dr. Angela? And I asked, could I have 24 hours? I'd like to pray about it and see what God tells me. And God gives me the name Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. And I said, such a curious name. Now, I didn't go any further or speak against it. I just said, okay, that's what God said. When I shared it, she wanted to make sure that I understood that I was going to be on weekly, just once a week, not daily. And I said, yeah, that's the name God gave me. I'm going to stick with it. A year later, I ended up being on weekdays with Dr. Angela, right? So I ended up being on daily. We fast forward all these years to today, and I am now on the radio 6 days a week. The only day I'm not on is on a Sunday. Because for most people, Sunday you're in church or you're doing something on a personal type of level. But why did I share that? Because you're saying, have that stick to itness. Do your devotionals. Trust that in doing that devotional, you will hear from God. God will direct you. God will lead your path. God will keep you on fire for the things that relate not only to Him, but that are for your life and for your purpose. And I could not agree with you more, Mark. The fact that I am on radio today is an example of that very thing, of trusting and believing and realizing that it is a gift that we are given. And the fact that I'm able to share awesome and amazing people like you to a listening audience, it's not something that I take lightly, and realize that, wow, this is an answer to a prayer, and God is rewarding me for my diligence in my commitment to doing what He would have me do with my life. I love that answer that you gave. Thank you so much for that. That just reminded me of another reason to be grateful. Thanks for that. Now, with all that you do, and I love a person who is busy about living out their purpose, you are also an author. You have to tell us about that. What is it like for you to be an author? And tell us about your latest book.
Well, my latest book is called The Deeper Secret Teachings of Christ, and it is Christian mysticism. And you brought up the daily spark. We mystics believe God is like a roaring fire of love, and we as souls are a spark of that love. We are all innately Christ. And this book is about how mystics look at everything. And it's very much like traditional Christianity, but we take it a little deeper on dreams and on the big picture. If you've ever been interested in Christian mysticism, this book is only 130 pages. It's short, and it provides an overview of those beliefs. It's available everywhere and on Amazon.
I love that, and thank goodness for Amazon for helping our authors out there. So no matter where you are in the world, you're able to get that book usually within 2 days. So I think that is so helpful. So you can hear it on a Monday, and you could very well have it by Wednesday or Thursday. That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. So glad, and congratulations on a new book. We have had you on before, and this is not your first time writing, so you are a successful author, and we continue to just support the work that you are doing, in that you are walking in the call that God has placed on your life, and you are leading so many people to our awesome and amazing God just by explaining it in a way that is relatable, that is understandable. And I think for so many people, religion becomes so much because they don't understand, what are you asking? What do I have to do? As opposed to just making it easy for the common person to be able to have that relationship with God. Make it easy. Don't make it difficult. And I love that you're doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're so right. Do what you know is right and keep studying what is right so that you can grow.
Absolutely. And isn't that's it right there, so that you can grow. I think that is the point. When we talk to our elders, like our grandparents, they are not gonna say, "Boy, did I wish I had caught that extra episode of that TV show, that I, that I'd gone to the mall or purchased one more thing." It is about, get your life right. Make sure that you're right with God. Your family is important. Love people more. Hate stuff less. Be the best person that you can be. And everyone, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of, where they live in the world, everyone says the same thing. And I really think that they're onto something. Be the best that you
It's
can.
our mission. It's our
Absolutely.
mission.
Yeah, it is. I love that. I love that. You are so right. So I want to say again, thank you so much for spending some time with me here today, Mark, on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I have so enjoyed my conversation with you here today.
Oh, it was so fun. I wish we could do this every day.
I know. We'll have to have you back on the show much more often. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. It's such a pleasure.
With you as well. And listeners, viewers, thank you for spending some time with us here today as well. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to spend it with us today, and I thank you for doing so. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.